In 2022, Texas A&M brought in a historic recruiting class. 18 of the top 100 players in the country signed with the Aggies, including 8 total 5-stars. 4 defensive linemen in A&M's class were 5-star recruits, with one of them being Shemar Stewart. In this video, I will break down Shemar and how he can become one of the most dominant edge rushers in this draft class. On a slider scale, similar to what you see on the Madden football games, we will rank 3 skill sets that are important to this player's position, based on a 100-point scale. At the end of this video, you will have a comprehensive outlook on this player without having to know everything about the X's and O's, while getting the knowledge that will make you feel like an NFL scout. This is Sliders. Hailing from Monsignor Pace High School in 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, Florida, Stewart was a 5-star and the number 9 player in the country in the class of 2022. Stewart was a naturally gifted athlete with elite size, measuring in at 6'6", 272 pounds, according to 247 Sports. Stewart was the top player in the state of Florida and held offers from in-state schools Miami, Florida, and Florida State, along with powerhouses Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and Clemson. Ultimately, Stewart would take his talents to College Station to play for Texas A&M, joining fellow 5-stars Evan Stewart and Walter Nolan in the highest-ranked recruiting class of all time. Stewart was the only 5-star in that vaunted class to play for the Aggies for his entire career after declaring for the NFL draft, foregoing his final year of eligibility. Stewart appeared in 37 games for the Aggies, logging 65 total tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 79 total pressures, and 4.5 sacks. Stewart also batted 4 passes, recovered 2 fumbles, and forced 1. In his final year with the Aggies, Stewart led a talented A&M defensive line with 39 pressures on the year. You may have heard his relatively low sack totals and think that Stewart is not disruptive or that he's not an elite prospect. But when you watch him play, you will see that he greatly impacts the game and has immense potential due to his athletic ability. I'm going to break down his strengths and show you what NFL scouts see in the talented edge rusher from Texas A&M. Let's talk Shemar Stewart's versatility. This is part of his game that I think he really excels at, right? Shemar Stewart is someone who is not only able to line up out wide, in a 2-point stance, but he's also able to put his hand in the ground, right? He's able to be in a more traditional edge rushing role, but also because of his size, right? He measured in the combine just shy of 6'6" and at 267 pounds. He's able to flex inside on pass rushing situations, and he's used a lot in different stunts and blitz packages. So he has versatility that you don't find in many edge rushers, and not to mention, he's incredible against the run. That's one thing about his game that really stood out to me is you look at the pass rushing stats and you're disappointed, but when you watch him play against the run, it's incredible. And then when you look at the pass rushing reps, you realize, man, he's so close to getting that final product of a sack every play, but he's someone who disrupts plays no matter what. So with the disruption, being able to play against the run, being able to line up anywhere along the defensive front, really, I gave Shemar Stewart a 38 out of 40. So elite versatility. He's someone who you can use all across the defensive line, like I said. Just a very talented player, and his size gives him that advantage when he flexes inside, right? He's able to do that, and he doesn't lose a step, right? Because he's still explosive. He doesn't see a drop-off in productivity just because he kicks inside for a play when rushing the passer. We're going to break down here for Shemar Stewart is this bull rush move against Arkansas earlier on in the season. So I want y'all to watch this, right? Shemar Stewart is going to be off this edge right here, and he's going to drive this tackle into the quarterback, collapsing the pocket entirely. So let's take a look here at this move off the edge. You see there, he really breaks down this play, right? Forces the quarterback Taylen Green into a scramble drill because he forces the tackle that's blocking him into the backfield, right? You look at the steps of this offensive tackle, he's off balance. As soon as Shemar Stewart makes contact with him, he is backpedaling, he's going backwards, right? He has no control over his feet. Shemar Stewart is in the driver's seat in this one-on-one battle. And it's because of that power that he has, and not many guys are going to be able to do this as well as he can, right? And that's one of the things that we want to see from defenders, right? He uses his power to bruise his way into the backfield, right? Showing you that he can beat you in more ways than one. Next, let's talk about Shemar Stewart's ability to play the run. This is a part of his game that I was familiar with because I watched every single game Shemar Stewart had for the last 3 years. You see him right here off on the left edge once again, and you're going to see him move inside, stonewall the tackle, and force the running back who comes across here into his help inside from his teammates. You're gonna have initial movement where the linemen are down blocking, right? You see the first steps of the tackle facing Shemar Stewart, right? Over here, you see that the offensive line is trying to create a gap right here with this behind this right guard as he gets second level to block Torian York, the linebacker, right? Let's watch what happens here. Albert Regis, his teammate, number 17 in the middle, breezes past his man, right? Number 17, you see that right here. He immediately gets past the center, the little swim move, right? And makes a play. But what we also see here is Shemar Stewart off this left edge. Watch how he plays this. He extends his arms, right? He has separation from the offensive lineman, so that way no matter where this running back cuts, he can throw him to the side, go inside, or he can throw him down inside, and Shemar Stewart can take the outside, right? And then he extends his arms, so that way no matter what decision the running back makes, he can get off his guy and make the play. But by setting the edge, he's really telling the running back, go inside, right? I'm taking away the outside option for you, cut inside. He trusts his defensive linemen. You see that both Shemar Turner here, number 5, and Albert Regis, number 17, both of them are collapsing in on the running back. Stewart forces the running back into his teammates for help. And to me, this is just a great play, high football IQ play, and great run discipline. We see here on this play that Shemar Stewart is lined up inside, somewhere we have not seen him line up on film that I've showed you yet. A&M uses a variety of exotic blitz packages and looks to free up a blitzing linebacker or slot cornerback. And a lot of the times this involved Shemar Stewart slotting inside. And the thing with this formation right here is he's slotted inside of another defensive tackle here in Shemar Turner. So they kind of just flip-flop, right? Because Turner typically doesn't line up a head up with a tackle. He is normally a true defensive tackle here, but we see Shemar Stewart and Shemar Turner flip-flopping their roles. And let's see how he plays it. Now that he's going to probably be facing a double team from this guard and center, what does Shemar Stewart do? Watch him, number 4. And you see immediately, right, that this is a stunt as he jumps from the right guard to the center and the left guard. And it frees not only him up, but it frees up other players, okay? So let's focus here on this blitz drawn up by head coach Mike Elko. Shemar Stewart, you see his quickness, right? Not many defensive linemen are going to be able to navigate this traffic and pull off this stunt like Shemar Stewart can. Keep quarterbacks guessing like that is I think a trait in of itself, because he's able to be used in such unique ways that defensive coordinators are going to love the versatility of Shemar Stewart. Shemar Stewart makes high-level adjustments in his game, sometimes even mid-play. The thing about Shemar Stewart is that he's able to capitalize off the mistakes of his opponents, and not to mention, immediately after the snap of the ball, he is able to diagnose quickly, run, or pass. With his ability to be used in a lot of different blitz packages and stunts, combining this with his ability to quickly diagnose plays, Shemar Stewart gets an elite level grade, and he's going to earn a 28 out of 30, and you're going to see why here in a second. Shemar Stewart plays extremely well when lined up against the run. We saw that a little bit earlier, but you're going to see even more when he's able to instantly diagnose the play and get down the heel line and make a tackle for a loss. Now, he also lives in the backfield when he's given free plays. So when he lines up against an offensive line and they make a mistake, he capitalizes. That's the kind of opportunistic mentality that you want from an edge rusher, someone who's going to be able to exploit mistakes along the offensive line. That's the first play that we're going to see here against Arkansas, as we're going to see Shemar Stewart, right, lining up on this outside edge. We're going to see him exploit a critical mistake, and we're also going to see him play an option extremely well. I would argue to perfection. Let's watch the first steps of all of these offensive linemen, okay? Right here. The offensive lineman facing Shemar Stewart, his first step inside. He's looking to wash out the other interior defenders, right? He's looking to wash out number 17, Albert Regis. Now, what is this other running back out here doing? Number 20, it looks like. Now, I would actually question what he's doing. It's possible that he's out here as a pitching option, right? Potentially a triple option play here for Taylen Green, right? He quickly diagnoses, I'm unblocked. It's an option. I'm going to attack at the mesh point, and what does he do here? He hits them both. Look, that's one arm around the running back right here, and the other arm is around the quarterback over here. Perfect play against an option, okay, by Shemar Stewart. He brings not only both of them down, but you see here, the ball pops loose, okay? Because as both of them brace for contact, that ball gets lost in the belly of the running back. So incredible play here by Shemar Stewart. Probably one of his best plays on film. You can point to it and say he was unblocked. 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀, everyone should make that play. As a read key, though, not everyone does play it as well as Shemar Stewart. So that's where I would say that this play is special, because of the high football IQ of Shemar Stewart, being able to diagnose the option, make a play, force a fumble. Overall, 10 out of 10 rep right here. Next, let's look at how Shemar Stewart looks again in another stunt and blitz, another exotic blitz look. Shemar Stewart, he comes in here. What does he do? He lines up off the edge. You see that it's 3 down linemen with a double mug look. Okay, right here you have Nick Scorton on one edge. You have Shemar Stewart on another edge. You have Shemar Turner lined up in the middle, and then you have double mug with 2 linebackers. So you have 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. 3 of them are linemen, right? You have Solomon DeShields here on the left, and you have Damian Sanford, the linebacker, on the right. So it looks like you're bringing 5. However, what you'll see here is you are going to see number 20, or you're going to see both of these linebackers back off. So what does Shemar Stewart do? Let's watch him off the edge here. He gets around the end and commands a double team. It's an up and down rep, right? Why? Because Brady Cook sees this wide open gap right in front of him. And as a result, he plays right into the hands of the linebacker. So great adjustment here by Shemar Stewart to be able to command a double team, but also create an obvious lane, luring Brady Cook right into the arms of a defender. A great play there. Shemar Stewart plays with excellent awareness of where his teammates are on the field and sets them up very, very well. Time and time again. We saw that in the versatility segment. We see it again now with his adjustments. Now, let's see how he does when he's left unblocked on the backside edge of a run. Oftentimes, when linemen are called to down block, right, on a run blocking play, the backside edge gets left unattended to because the offensive coordinator is betting on the fact that that backside defender is not going to be able to make a play on the football coming down the heel line. We see everything going to the right-hand side of the offense. Okay? So Shemar Stewart, he's seeing that, right? He's seeing that, and so he takes an inside step, a heavy one. His choice to take such a big inside step is confirmed when he sees all of these three bodies, right, going to that same direction. He sees Mason Taylor, he sees number 14, and he sees Will Campbell all running inside. He's able to weave through blocks. He's able to navigate traffic. He gets on the back of Will Campbell and in front of this receiver or tight end, and he's able, right, he's got his eyes right here on the running back. He sees the running back has the ball. He breaks through. He's not getting blocked, right, by that receiver, and he's able to make a play. Excellent stop by Shemar Stewart. Excellent adjustment. Overall, great play by Shemar Stewart here. And I think that after you've seen all these clips, I hope you agree that his adjustments post-snap are incredible. Let's talk the athleticism of Shemar Stewart now. He killed it at the combine, went quite viral for it over the last weekend. Shemar Stewart ran a 4.59 40, had a 40-inch vertical, and had a 10-foot 11-inch broad jump, all at 6'5" and 267 pounds. Quite impressive. Even more impressive when you consider that he dropped over 15 pounds since when he weighed in at the Senior Bowl. This dude is an athletic freak. So, of course, he's going to score high when it comes to athleticism. Now, we do take more into this athleticism score than just your combine numbers, right? We're also looking at your effort, your motor, right? How much effort you're giving in each play? If you're, considered out of the play, are you chasing the guy downfield? Are you making plays that a typical defensive lineman should not be making, right? And, of course, are you able to beat guys off the edge with speed? Are you able to beat them off the edge with finesse? Are you able to how are your hands, right? Do your hands have technique behind them, right? Do you have fast hands? Think of Aaron Donald and all those drills he did with the knives. He had insanely fast hands and he was extremely disciplined with them. Great technique. So when you take all that into account, Shemar Stewart finishes with a 26 out of 30. And I know that you may be saying 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀, but with what he did at the combine, with his measurements, how is he not, like a 29 out of 30? How is he lower than James Pierce? Well, look, James Pierce did have the fastest 40 out of any defensive lineman at the draft this year. But again, that's not just what we look at. Shemar Stewart doesn't have a completely filled out bag of pass rush moves and counters off the edge when it comes to speed. His hands can sometimes be inactive, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, let's focus on the positive. We're going to break down this first clip here against Missouri, where Shemar Stewart lines up on the edge. We see initially he lines up out here. Let's watch the whole play as we see the motor of Shemar Stewart. Breaks down, tackles Luther Burden about 5 yards downfield from where the original line of scrimmage was. So first, what is his responsibility here? You see, he's unblocked. The first thing that goes through his mind, and we already saw this against Arkansas, is it's an option, right? We see that it's an option, and he sees that the running back, right, is running away from him. Running back is heading in this direction towards Nick Scorton. Brady Cook, his eyes are right here. And we see Shemar Stewart as the play goes on. He does not crash inside and attack the mesh point between the quarterback and the running back. Why? Because this play was going away from him. The running back was going away from Shemar Stewart. It was the opposite in that clip against Arkansas, where the play was towards him. As a result of that, he could crash inside, right? Here, he doesn't crash inside. He stands pat. Brady Cook, it doesn't look like he ever really considered handing the ball off. He doesn't ever really put it in the belly of his running back. His eyes are right here, knowing that he's going to have a screen out wide. As soon as he saw Brady's arm go up, he's getting lateral. This is the football IQ too of Shemar Stewart that I keep talking about clip after clip. He is extremely disciplined and knows what's happening and diagnoses extremely quickly. One of the biggest questions about the 40-yard dash is, does it translate to game speed, right? We see that all the time with all sorts of players, but especially with defensive linemen, they aren't often running in a straight line, right? Because for defensive linemen, especially edge rushers, it's usually about the explosiveness. What's the 10-yard split compared to their 40? How is their vertical? How is their broad jump? Well, Shemar Stewart not only has elite level explosiveness, but he uses his speed extremely well, and his speed in his 40, his 4.59, absolutely translates to the tape. Let's watch this right here against Arkansas. Shemar Stewart lined up on this edge. The one thing I want to continue to point out is he lines up all over the defensive line. He doesn't just stick to one edge, not just to the left or the right, but he plays both. He can also play interior. So let's break it down now. This is the play. All right, you have a little bit of play action. You also have pressure off the edge from the safety, who is presumably in the box. Safety pressures the quarterback, right? Safety pressures the quarterback, forcing him to roll out. Shemar Stewart is past his man. So what happens? All right, quarterback, scramble drill, get lateral, make something happen. Shemar Stewart, you are in pursuit. That is all that's going on here. You are in pursuit. Let's see. He's closing ground. He's closing ground. He's closing ground. He's not able to get the final product, and I really wish that he could, but that is the story of his season. It could have been worse, right? But you'd like to see him stay on his feet there and generate a sack. So Shemar Stewart, his speed translates. That's what you want to see from these guys. The explosiveness, we see it translate. The speed, it translates. Now, I have one more clip here that I want to show y'all where the speed and explosiveness both translate to the tape. All right, let's break down this clip now with Shemar Stewart standing off the edge here. You're going to see in run defense, Shemar Stewart off the backside against outside zone is going to destroy this play. Why? Because he gets left unblocked. Let's play this full speed. He gets there, makes a great play on this running back, on Nate Noel, right? So the first thing I want to point out is that, again, with the positional versatility, we often see him with 1-2 hands in the ground. Here, 2-point stance. He's a stand-up edge rusher here. So what's he do? He doesn't really get blocked by the tight end, who's more worried about this linebacker. First mistake. This could also go in the adjustments section, but let's see the athleticism here. Outside zone, right? So this running back is either going to choose to go wide, or he's going to choose one of these gaps to cut up into. Shemar Stewart, your job is to get down the heel line. Just try to get yourself in the play to make a play, right? The fastest way to do that, don't run yourself too deep into the backfield. You're going to run yourself out of the play. Why? Because the running back is either sorry, he's either lateral or he's getting upfield. So if Shemar Stewart gets too far downfield, he's already out of the play. He does a great job here of staying on the heel line, which the heel line, guys, is an imaginary line drawn at the heels of where the heels are of the offensive line pre-snap, right? So you see right here, this is the heel line. Essentially, it's this 30-yard or 20-yard marker. Where does Shemar Stewart go? He gets down to the 20-yard line, 21-yard line, and then makes a play on the football. And it happens time after time on tape. And you could say, well, 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗲𝗀, if anyone's left unblocked, they're going to make a play. Well, I would challenge you to go and find however many defensive linemen as you can who will make this exact play 10 out of 10 times. Shemar Stewart, backside, unblocked, outside zone, away from his side. He's making that play because of his speed and explosiveness. Not every edge rusher can do this. So that just shows you how special Shemar Stewart is. His athleticism, right? It pops off the tape. Of course, I wish he had more finesse moves here, but when you watch him, right, the effort, the motor, the speed, the agility, the quickness, it's all there. We just got to see it quantified at the combine. So, on a 100-point scale, Shemar Stewart gets a 92 out of 100. A fantastic grade for a player like him, especially when you consider the lack of production he had in college. Only 4.5 sacks, 1.5 sacks per year. Pretty consistent. But look, when we break down the tape, he's more disruptive than just 1.5 sacks per year. He doesn't ghost in games. He doesn't get the final product we wish he would get, but he is certainly disruptive. He led the Aggies in pressures this past year. I mean, if you're looking for stats, for something quantifiable to say he had an impact, there's that. So, Shemar Stewart's grade here doesn't come as much a surprise. He is a little bit lower than James Pierce Jr. here, and really, ultimately, it comes down to his athleticism. But not in the way you think, right? I've been talking about his finesse moves, right? His hands, and that's really what's holding him back, in my opinion. Some of his weaknesses, right? The finesse moves really do need work, because while Stewart excels with power, he's inconsistent with his counters, right? As soon as, maybe his power moves do get stopped, or he tries to get some bend or dip off the edge, as soon as he gets stonewalled, he doesn't have a response other than just try to gain separation by extending his arms. There's really no other counters that he has in his bag, and he can't consistently win off the edge with speed. That's what I've seen. And in the same vein, right, Stewart can have inactive hands at times. So when you don't have viable counter moves and you can't win off the edge consistently with speed, it's really because of his hands. That's what I've seen. It was more, if he was more active with his hands, he would not only shed more blocks in the running game, especially when it comes to those inside plays, but he would generate a lot more pressures, and it would help him develop more of a diverse pass rush skill set. As a result, making him less predictable, more dangerous, right? So I want to see him go to a place where his hands will get developed, right? I want to see his technique take that next step, because like I alluded to earlier, right? You see Aaron Donald doing those drills with all the knives, where he's using his hands, active and strong. Shemar Stewart, you're a strong kid, right? I want to see more development and the activity of his hands, because if he's able to become more active with his hands, not as lazy it might seem sometimes, he is going to be a monster. No one's going to be able to get a hand on him. He's so quick and strong, right? We see him overpower people, but if he can be handsy off the edge, develop a nice swim move, right? It's going to be really hard to stop him. So again, with the proper coaching, I think that he really could develop a deep bag of pass rush moves. And look, we saw Travon Walker get drafted first overall in 2022 due to his athletic ability. And after receiving the proper coaching and development, he's recorded double-digit sacks in Jacksonville 2 years in a row now. So that just goes to show, right? You could be an athletic freak, not have as much production or technique as you would like in college, but with a proper coaching, you can absolutely develop into a Pro Bowler, a consistent double-digit sack producer. Shemar Stewart, though, I think he has the frame and the athleticism that could even transcend what Travon Walker had. He just doesn't even have the same level of production in college. So with the proper coaching, Shemar Stewart's weakness is easily fixable. It's not a mental problem, it's not an effort problem, it's not a size problem, it's not an explosiveness problem, it's just technique. And if he gets that fixed, Shemar Stewart can easily develop not only into one of the best pass rushers of this draft class, but certainly into one of the best pass rushers arguably in the league. There's a reason why he's getting compared to Myles Garrett. He has the traits. He just needs refinement. He just needs his technique to be developed. And if he does that, watch out for Shemar Stewart. Now, let's rock with the player comps. Now, some of these might upset some people because you may be like, man, he's not even close to the same level of dominance as either of these two players. But I'm here to tell you, look at the traits, look at the intangibles, there's a lot of similarities, even if you don't like it. First up, 𝗕𝙂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀. Yes, Shemar Stewart was less dominant than 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 was in college, but the explosiveness and the disruption against the run is undeniable. You know, 𝗕𝙂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 went viral for that massive hit against Michigan, and Shemar Stewart, while he may not have that same marquee moment as 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, he is dominant against the run. And looking back at 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀's scouting report, he even had some of the same weaknesses as Stewart, with more finesse off the edge to be desired. So yes, both of them do have a lot of similarities, and even some of those similarities are in the weakness category. The one thing Shemar Stewart has over 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is pure athleticism. Despite near identical builds, with both of them being listed around 6'5" and 267, 270 at the combine, and 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀𝗀𝗀 ran a faster 40, a 4.53 to a 4.59. However, Stewart was far more explosive. He had a faster 10-yard split. Granted, it was faster by a 100th of a second, but he had a better vertical and a better broad jump. So the explosiveness of Shemar Stewart here is an advantage that he has over 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀. And the similarities are there, right? I just think that Shemar Stewart has what it takes to become what many thought that 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝘀 would be. 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀 never reached double-digit sacks in his entire career in the NFL. The most he logged in a single season was 9.5, so he was right there. But Shemar Stewart, I think, absolutely has the potential for double-digit sacks consistently on a year-by-year basis, right? He has similar traits to 𝗕𝙂𝘀𝗀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 in terms of his motor, his willingness to play against the run, and his success against the run, but also, right, as long as he develops a true pass rushing skill set, while 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 may have taken a little bit to get that, in his under his belt. If Stewart does that, he's going to become, many times more what 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 was in the pros. And 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 was for a long time a very serviceable, defensive end. So again, he may not have lived up to the expectations of being the #1 overall pick, but 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 was a good player. I just think that Shemar Stewart has the potential to be even better than what 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 was. And this next comp, Julius Peppers. The size is a great comp here, right, with Peppers being listed at 6'7", but Stewart's power reminds me a lot of the way that Peppers played. Stewart dominates people off the edge. We saw that in a clip against Arkansas. He does it consistently. That's his go-to move. If you need him to beat a guy one-on-one, he's going to run straight through you. We even saw it at the Senior Bowl many times. And Peppers was productive throughout his long career in Carolina, right? He was the Defensive Rookie of the Year, an all-time great for the franchise. And despite the links between Shemar Stewart and the Carolina Panthers, I think that if Stewart develops the tools he needs, he can become a franchise all-time great. That's right, I think that he could become one of the best defensive ends in a franchise's history if he receives the proper coaching. He has the tools. My only knock on him, the only reason why he doesn't have an extremely high, extremely elite grade for me, is because he doesn't have the developed pass rush skill set that you would like from a player of his caliber, a player of his hype, a player of his projected draft stock. So yeah, these two players, it's more so about the size, the traits, right? But even with 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 especially, I think that Shemar Stewart and 𝗕𝙂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 have probably the most similarities that I've seen between Stewart and any other player. which is why he's my comp, right? The same weaknesses, very similar skill sets, very similar strengths, and even the weaknesses, right? And then when you break it down even more into the athleticism, I really do think that Shemar Stewart having the edge there in terms of explosiveness, that's what's going to give him that upper hand when all is said and done. When you look back at Shemar Stewart's career compared to Clowney's, is Shemar Stewart, he develops his technique, that athleticism, that explosiveness is going to go a long way for him. So I do think that on the low end, you know, Shemar Stewart's going to be a 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀 type player. Which I think is that's a great place to be at. And I think on the high end, I think he could be a Julius Peppers here. So these are my 2 player comps for Shemar Stewart. Well, everyone, that's it for my first episode of Sliders. We got a lot coming out on a consistent basis. So check out the other episodes in the Sliders series where Dante has already covered players like Tyler Shugg, James Pierce Jr., and Siobhan Revell. I highly suggest y'all check out that one specifically since Revell was injured for most of the 2024 season. And of course, y'all, be on the lookout for more Sliders episodes as we will cover players like Devin Neal, Colston Loveland, and Matthew Golden in the coming days. Be sure to check them out. My name is 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀. This has been Sliders with East Coast Gridiron. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of Sliders.